Hello my friends, Mr. Tuna here, and today we have the brand new, just arrived LZX Videomancer. And I've got it hooked up into my Double Vision system here, my little modular video rig. And I'm only just getting a grasp on what this thing's capable and how it's going to integrate into the rest of the system or other parts of the system. But today, I just want to explore a couple of things that I've learned in the hours since I've turned it on, and a couple of the interesting things that you can do with the LZX Videomancer. So to start, I've got it set up on a really basic patch, and I'm running it through. I've got a pattern started from the dual oscillator, and we're just running it directly into the Videomancer via the 1 volt analog inputs here. And I had a little bit of trouble setting that up at first in the system setting here. All I had to do to ensure that my analog inputs were working was click. I had to set my video routing to analog. I might have had to switch it to HDMI and then switch it back to analog. Oh, you can see it disappeared there. But now that it's back on analog, everything's working. And we can go into our system here, and you can see that, actually I'm just gonna set it to bypass right now, pass through. All right, there's our basic patch. You can see the settings that I've got set up here. Analog, I'm running RGB 1 volt in. I'm running RGB 1 volt out back into the encoder here. But interestingly, for this video, I'm not actually using the analog out. We're recording directly from HDMI into OBS. So this is an HDMI feed from the Videomancer. And I've got a very simple black and white signal, actually. Maybe let's just add in some color very quickly here. Just so we can get the full range of effects that we might otherwise need. There we go. Okay, we're just gonna pretend like that's a beautiful pattern that I just created. But let's check out a couple of programs on the Videomancer. So I'm pass through now. Let's see what PINWHEEL does. I'm actually not sure what PINWHEEL is going to do. I think it's more of like a color treatment. So we can, I don't know, turn that up. I find that you have to be in one of these main button settings to actually see what you're doing on screen. If you're in system settings, you can still operate the machine, but it's not going to show you any of the actual changes you're making on screen. So let's see what we can do here. We turn the brightness up. We can, oh, there we go. There's our saturation. So we can make things very colorful. And I imagine this is going to be our hue. And then we've got another series of controls here. Luma to hue, Luma to saturation, and Luma gain. These are all sort of catch encoders. So if you're not seeing a change on the encoder or on the screen, you're going to have to run to the point where it actually is sitting here. So PINWHEEL is just sort of changing our colors. It's sort of an enhancer for us. But we could modulate any one of these settings very, very easily. We could go to hue, which is going to be an obvious one for us. And I've just got to change it from manual to free, LFO. And we could select a triangle wave, or here we go, there's that catch again, a saw wave, but we're going to stick with the sine because it's nice and smooth. We'd change our timing here, or rather we could change our gain. So that changes how much hue we're going to be adjusting. And then our time function here, this is going to create the actual motion, there we go, that we can see. So that's a very, very simple patch on the PINWHEEL. We could patch any single one of these controllers. Like we've got saturation here. It could go up and down. We could do the exact same thing. We could go free LFO, sync LFO, which is going to sync to your sequencer if we've got it connected via USB. or CV control. Audio inputs, which I haven't experimented much with yet, and random, but I'm going to stick with free. I'm going to stick with free LFO. Clicking it sort of resets things there. We go to free LFO. We pick our slope again. We're going to make this one a square wave. Where are we? Square, just so it pops in and out. We're going to take our gain to the extreme, and now you can sort of see it. Maybe we'll make it flash. If we wanted to save any of our states, we just go into state, pick one, hold to save, and then we can confirm our save and come back there whenever we need to. So state, do I have another state saved here? Let's load that up. And I was in a different program system. I can't remember what it's called. FAULTPLANE, which gives us these little windows to look through or to play with. And I spent a little bit of time with FAULTPLANE, so I know what it's going to do here. We can sort of catch. Oh, let's find our program here. We can sort of catch and bring things down, bring these bars straight across. The exact same thing with these ones, just so things are very, very simple. We could create some boxes, actually, just so you can see that. And then we'll turn everything down to 0%. Let's catch that. 0%. 0%. 0%. So that's a very, very simple version. We've just, all we're doing is creating these little boxes here, creating these little borders. We can invert them. There we go. Now we've got kind of like a window set up, which is a little more interesting. And now that it's very basic, you can see some of the changes that these will make. So we can turn this up and start skewing the odd numbered boxes. And this is going to do the same thing, only in the other direction. Displace it rather than delay it. So you can get some pretty cool glitch effects immediately there. And move this back and forth. What do we got here? And of course, these can all be modulated via LFO. I've got a couple moving already because it's a scene that I've been working on here. But if we wanted to move this up and down, we're on number 4. All we've got to do is grab an LFO. Our free LFO here. Make it go nice and fast or slow. I believe, let's see, a sync LFO here. That's not going to, you got your divisions that you can run through. It's not going to do anything until you press play. So you've got something of a little like starter sequencer you can work with here. You can tap your tempo or sequence it to a larger system like I'm doing with the Hermod Plus. Just not something we're focusing on today. Let's twist a couple more knobs here. Let's just make things crazier. There we go. Bring that all the way up. Bring that all the way down. Might be good for keying in some feedback, which we can do in a second. There we go. Sort of your... Now these will start to function. Once they're in the down position, they're essentially turned off, but in the up position, they're going to give you different inversions here, or flips. Kind of cool. It tends to be a little more obvious when they're bigger. There we go. And this might be a little more interesting on something... There we go, nice and clear. On something a little more dynamic. We're just keeping things simple in the system right now to show off these very basic features. So back to system and our program. Let's pick something new. LUMARIAN, we haven't tried. What do we got here? Oh, let's just pick. Okay, so contrast, obviously. Brightness, we're going to bring up, and saturation. So this is another enhancer. That's gamma. Really good for some feedback, especially like darkening and sort of taming it along the way out. We'll play around with that in a second. I'll get a feedback loop going with this. Rectifiers, inverters. Oh, chroma invert, luma invert. That's kind of neat together. And even these switches, if I'm not mistaken, like we can control them. So I've got the luma invert, and let's speed that up. So it's nice and fast. We'll get a kind of a back and forth slope. I'm sure this can be modulated this way. Maybe it's more of a switch. You can see it sort of turning on and off. If I go to a ramp, it's not like it's a gradual change. So the switches purely function as switches might. But we've got that inversion moving back and forth. So we do the amplifier. The amplifier is another one that I could be less familiar of, but all of our modulations are still existing in this patch, so you can see it flashing back and forth like I had it set up to do. Nice changes to the color. Let's just add one more LFO for posterity's sake. Where are we? Free LFO. Nice and fast. Quite a bit of movement. Sine wave. All right. System. Phaser. Here's one that's going to be a little more interesting. This is going to sort of take our channels and tear them apart. Phase them apart. Oh, it's thinking about it. Yeah, that is quite the change. We can simply flick the bypass on here and see the difference that it makes for, oh, it's a little bit of a slow transition. Let's try that one more time. Yeah, it doesn't like it that much. All right, so the phaser sort of distorts the image one way or the other. We can sort of clean everything up here. I always have trouble seeing what I'm doing. Manual, let's just turn everything to 0. Move everything. Manual displacement, no, 0. As close to 0 as we can manage. And then we can sort of shift things back and forth. So there's your most basic image. You can sort of move the color channels across. You see them sort of interacting with each other. We could line them up with each other. Where are we? There it is. We could slightly distort them, give ourselves a little bit more color separation, or really tear things up here. This is where the original signal will start to sort of pass through. Where are we? Oh, it's those LFOs. Let's turn off the LFO here. Off. There, that's a little simpler. Makes some more sense to me actually now that I'm looking at it without that LFO moving back and forth. So this is a very video synthy effect to work with. Gets things pretty crazy. Probably my favorite of the bunch if we're just creating abstract art, I would say. This is one that could definitely use some LFO movement here. We've got 4 free LFO. And go nice and fast. Maybe not that fast. But you can definitely create a lot of movement with it. And certainly we could be playing with our very simple program just on the Double Vision system too. Create something new. Wow. Or just grab a little movement from scrolls here, or wherever we are. Throw that to one of our shapes. Pretty cool. Then lastly, we've got BITCULLIS, which is kind of a bit crusher to some extent. So if we load that up, go into our system here, and take our bypass off, you can immediately sort of see the crushing. We sort of dial in a little bit of almost a keyer here. But we can sort of crush the verticals. There we go. Decimate them, rather. Maybe that's the word that I'm looking for. Go to some much simpler bands. And do the same to our horizontal, I imagine. There we go. LFOs, so we can make it really, really simple sort of color palette. Or we can make things much more complicated to what they were. I don't know what these are doing for us. There we go. So just changing our luma. Color. Dithering. Inversion. Some simple stuff, but pretty effective. You start playing around with it. Okay, let's try processing some HDMI signals. We've got a classic running on our screen here, and I've actually got it running in the background. I've got it running as a feedback insert. So if we sort of fade in here, you can sort of see it trailing in at the back. Let's see, maybe I'll just bring that in a little bit more. Lots of movement, lots of like glitch coming from there. We could sort of simplify it entirely. Let's see. Or make it much more complicated. There we go, lots of weird movement. I think we've got saturation down here. Pretty cool. Let's try it on the actual source here. One sec. So last, I figured we'd just experiment with an HDMI feed here. So let's pick a program like Phaser, because it makes such a dramatic difference. Wow. And we can flick bypass on here, or flick it across. Now, this is something I'm not sure is actually intended, the actual like separation in the effects. I'm gonna go back here to my system. We're gonna pick FAULTPLANE for this one again. And I'm just gonna make it, I'm gonna simplify this whole thing so we can see what I'm trying to show you. Where are we? How can I do that? There we go. So you see how it's like sort of sideways? It's like put, I don't know if that's normal or not, because if I turn bypass on, it goes back. But now we've got these flips. Now it's starting to look kind of interesting, actually. These inversions. Okay, let's shrink everything up again. And then this one too. And then bring this up. Maybe turn an inversion off, because things are getting pretty distorted. Weird. .1080p. Took me a couple minutes to get that working, but quality seems to be very good. Took a couple minutes for it to pick it all up. Let's pick one more program here. Let's go back to our BITCULLIS. We're gonna have to bring that all the way down to see things. There we go. See, that's a little bit of a trick that I had to earn. Mash things up here. There we go. See what we can do to bring some extra color in. I don't know, green. You sort of fade out the blocks. Kind of funny. All right, you know what, guys? That is my best first day with the Videomancer. So thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to actually getting to know this thing a little bit better, so that I can share some real tips and tricks with you. Thanks again for spending time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. LZX Videomancer.